Welcome to the podcast series of Midwas Orthodontic Study Group. This is Dr. Rekha Bharadwaj here, your chief convener of the study group, and I hope you all thoroughly enjoyed the part 1 of our episode by Dr. Narayan Gandedkar on surgery first approach, a very insightful conversation, I must say, with Dr. Srirengalakshmi. Before we unveil the part 2, I would like to share a brief biography of our distinguished speaker, Dr. Narayan Gandedkar. For people who may not know him, Dr. Narayan Gandedkar hails from a very small town in India, completed his master's degree from the SDM College of Dharwad, and also his advanced fellowship training in craniofacial orthodontics at the Chang-Gung Memorial University and Hospital, Taiwan. He has several scientific publications to his credit, has authored and co-authored textbooks on surgery first orthodontics, and he's also the associate editor in seminars on orthodontics, APOS trends, and many more journals. We're truly honored to have you with us here today, and thank you very much once again for the opportunity and for the wonderful interaction. We will move on to the part 2. The conversation continues. Over to you, Dr. Ranga.
We've heard a lot of clinical inputs from the clinician. So now we'll move on to the academic version of you. So I have questions for you. You know, as educators, we celebrate successful cases, but do we also celebrate successful students? Like, what gives you more satisfaction today? Transformation of a patient's life, or is it the transformation of a student's career?
Right, I'll tell you why. I'm half clinician, half academic. I can never be a full academic or never be a full clinician. I treat patients 2 days a week and then 3 days I teach. So probably orthodontics as a professional curriculum wise, you require some sort of a clinician inside you in order to better become an academic. You know, if you don't understand diagnosis, if you don't understand execution of the treatment, how to prioritize your problem list, and then come to a logical conclusion, you as a clinician, how can you teach that to the students? You know, like you yourself are unsure about what you're doing. I mean, it's not like you sit in front of a computer, go into a lecture room and then talk about it. It doesn't unravel itself. Academics in orthodontics is more about how well versed you are as a clinician and how well you can put forward those thoughts to a young budding postgrad student where he or she might be having so many questions there, and yourself as an academic, you're trying or spit out some rubbish knowledge to them. They will catch you out in a minute. So that means that you must be able to move ahead with your clinical knowledge, stay abreast, stay ahead of the curve, and then kind of impart that knowledge to your postgrad student. I think it's a better combination of both being an academic and a clinician. So yeah. Better days, I'm academic. Some other days, I'm a clinician. I'm better off as a clinician.
And I think you've had training and teaching experience through multiple countries. Like you've been here in India, then you've worked in Singapore, and now you're in Australia leading a program. So you must have seen the academic scenario through multiple lenses. So what are the most striking differences between all of these systems?
Look, India, I trained in India for 3 years during my post-graduation. What I've noticed, two important things in India is incredible volume of patients. And I studied from SDM Dharwad. So it still has one of the best craniofacial units in the entire world. I can vouch for it. I'm not just boasting because I'm an alumni for SDM Dharwad. I can tell you in a heartbeat that it has got one of the best craniofacial centers in the entire world. So that means that I, as a postgrad, I had this barrage of patients on me where sky is the only limit. No matter how much you look at it, time is running against you because you've got so much to do, so large volume of patients you can treat. That means that your exposure to those patients as a young postgrad is phenomenal. So at the end of the day, you get trained well. You'll be put into those complexities of treatment right from the beginning. So that means that you don't see complexities if you're left alone by yourself. And at the end of the day, postgrads get supervised by incredible professors, which is a given. Then after that, on your own, suddenly one day your post-graduation completes and you're on your own. What are you going to do? So that means that two incredible things that have happened to me while I was in India during my post-graduation is large exposure to complex number of patients, and also some great teachers who taught me how to maneuver all these complexities and reach to a logical conclusion. Then Taiwan happened, and then I worked in Singapore for nearly 8 years. Now, Singapore is more about what I learned in Singapore. Singapore is, you have to remember, Singapore is a very small country, right? That means that you will not be able to see a large volume of patients. I'm simply comparing India and Singapore's volume of patients in terms of the complexity center. So that means Singapore, what they have done is they have looked inwards, meaning that if even if I have a very simple case or or a case which is not that complex, I'm going into the meticulous details of it, the intricacies of how this can be reached from one point to another point, or how I should be working as a teammate. Because I was working in a craniofacial center at KK Women's and Children's Hospital. There we have a large craniofacial center team where you liaise with neurosurgeons, plastic surgeons, oral and maxillofacial surgeons, orthodontists, ENTs, and the special care nurses and all that. So that means that how you work as a team, how you function. You as an orthodontist, you are a specialist, doesn't mean that you jump into that and you have your own opinions about it. You take a step back, get everybody's opinion, views, and all that. Remember, they are all specialties coming from different fields for the patient-centric treatment. You have to get an outcome out of it. That means that they are much more detail oriented. They're schedule wise. Their protocols are immaculate in terms of execution. They cannot go wrong in terms of what needs to be done for that patient in a very short period of time. Now, if you move, I moved to Australia nearly 8 years ago. Now I'm an academic and a clinician both. What I've seen is the best of both the worlds that I had. I can see that in my own practice as well as my own teaching, because like my own postgrads, even if they show me a most complex case, I usually tell them my phrase is should be okay, don't worry about it. And they will be like, what? This is such a complex case and you are telling me should be okay. Because I've seen that in India, and also a complicated case, how it can be broken down into smaller things, compartmentalized, and how it can be approached. I've seen that in Singapore as well. So that means that I cannot be thinking about as a leader or as academic or as a program director, I should not be telling them that, like, I don't know what I'm doing, I will not be able to guide you. I have to take a moment. I call it as a 90-second thought that if you are in doubt, don't rush to your decision. Give yourself 90 seconds. Take a deep breath. It will come to you because you cannot go wrong with your instincts, which are deep rooted. And you'll always come from the place where the most complex case you would have treated 4 years, 5 years, or 6 years back. That kind of experience will knock you right in that place, and you'll be able to tell the student, or you will be able to tell yourself because you are treating the patients as well on your own. So I think that's a combination of both India, complexities, large volume of patients, great teachers, Singapore, meticulousness, schedule, protocols, getting it in done, being how you need to be more disciplined in terms of your approach. And that combination has got to me in Australia. And probably that's the thing that's keeping me going so far.
All right. So I know we've had this discussion before. The postgraduate students, are they fundamentally the same across the world, or different culture produce different kind of
No,
learners? What's your
they
take?
are they are essentially the same. I cannot pinpoint saying that, oh, these postgrads are entirely different from that demographics or that part of the world. No, postgrads are postgrads. They're hungry for knowledge. Rebels, they are intelligent, they are smart, they want to know, they want to understand. They are the same. You cannot change. The fact is fact. Intelligence is intelligence. Hard work is hard work, and they come with a combination of both of them.
So, what qualities consistently distinguish an exceptional student from a merely competent one, like you, in your experience?
In my experience, exceptionally talented students have one great ability of sinking into the environment rather than coming with a understanding that my understanding as a student is much better than yours, or they are not flexible in their ideas in terms of what they have thought, what they have understood. Probably a more in sync student would be that they would ask questions and they wouldn't hesitate whether the question is simple or complex. the ability of them to adapt to the new situation and quickly grasp that and move forward. That's something that exceptionally talented student will exhibit almost all the time, regardless of where they are coming from.
All right. I think that's a good quality. And so if you'd like to change the orthodontic curriculum from scratch, or would you like to, if you want, have given a chance to improvise, what would you?
I don't think there's much I can do in terms of removing or starting from the scratch, but I would say that if I have to kind of revise or maneuver orthodontics in the future is rely more upon evidence-based teaching, fall back to the fundamentals of orthodontics, the biology of orthodontic treatment. Those needs to be given priority rather than market driven or what the guru tells you is the best or what I understand is the best. Evidence based and also fundamentals must be thoroughly understood.
All right. So next, we're going to have a rapid fire round for the academic version of you. And if the postgrads, if you're listening to this, please keep some rabbit's ears. Okay, this is for you. So you just have to be quick, whatever comes to your mind. The first question, the most
Right.
underrated quality in a postgraduate.
I would call it as the ability to understand more complex subjects within their realm of understanding. That's something phenomenal. They should feel that that's an achievement in themselves, because orthodontics is not an easy field, but still they grasp or tend to grasp it right from the day one. That's something that they need to overrate it rather than underrate it.
All right. So what would be the most overrated quality in a postgraduate?
Like I know everything, you don't have to tell me more about it. My way of doing it is better than yours.
All right. So what is one habit that every resident should cultivate?
Discipline, highly disciplined life. Intelligence, hard work is all, everything is set aside. Discipline is the key to move ahead in your life, no matter what you're doing.
And one habit that every resident should stop immediately?
Self-doubting themselves, second-guessing themselves, ask questions, no matter how silly they are, don't hesitate. Don't try to pretend that you're the most intelligent person and hesitate asking questions. Ask questions, be silly, be vulnerable.
True. And what is one book that every orthodontist should read?
I would suggest two. One of them is non-orthodontic book, which I usually read time and again. It's Fast Thinking and Slow Thinking by Daniel Kahneman. Every orthodontist, every young budding postgrad student should read it. It tells you about the heuristic biases that we come across, how you should be dealing with yourself while you are doing fast and slow decisions. That's something that has helped me throughout. And Daniel Kahneman is one of the eminent Nobel laureates in economics. If you read that book, you will realize that how fascinating that is, that he has understood the mind of a human being. Second is, I would want to say my own book, co-authored book on surgery. I don't want to say that. And the second book would be by Kawang Chul Choi and Charles Burston's Fundamentals of Biomechanics in Orthodontics. That's one book that is very illuminating.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the researcher version of you, I'm going to ask you some tough questions. Despite decades of research, I think orthodontics is one specialty we have loads of evidence compared to any other specialty. So many questions remain still unanswered. So what are the research gaps that genuinely excite you today?
I'm more into auditing the data that I already have in terms of outcome assessment, in terms of the treatment planning. I'm looking at the evidence that we have in terms of using a simple appliance such as a functional appliance. Is it really worth it to use the functional appliance in every other case, or should we reserve it to some specified cases? I'm retrospecting my own data, and some of my postgrads are running newer researches in terms of that. Second thing is that the last decade, what we see is a barrage of evidence or non-evidence or lack of evidence in terms of application of temporary anchorage devices. So much so that even conventional orthodontics, where conventionally you can bring about the same amount of results, proponents of TADs have gone to that area and told that TADs would bring better results. What I'm talking about, is there any real evidence suggests that application of TADs less than 10 years of age, no matter what the discrepancy, is it expansion of the maxilla or bringing more class 3, early class 3 corrections using TADs in terms of skeletal corrections in a 9 or a 10-year-old? I'm looking at that part, whether is it really worthwhile to look into that part and see what the TAD has done so far. Is it substantially great, or conventionally we could have done it? It's just because the TAD people don't want to shun their, lack of better word, ego, and say that conventional and TAD are the same. You know what I'm saying? So probably I'm in that realm of finding evidence in terms of how best we can maneuver these younger generations to think about. There were people who have done in the 80s and the 90s conventional orthodontics. If you give them the same malocclusion, they would do exceptionally great in terms of what they've understood in terms of conventional orthodontics itself. So overselling of things, I don't like it. Over claiming of things, I'm particularly against it. So that's the field where I'm really interested in looking forward to as a research component.
All right. So, speaking of the younger generation, scientific writing really is intimidating for many young orthodontists. So, even if they have knowledge, sometimes they are very handicapped. So, what is the secret behind the art of writing a good paper?
There's no recipe. I will tell you my own journey. Because I used to read a lot of novels. If you ask my mother, she would say that, oh, you by fault you became orthodontist. Otherwise, I would have been a novelist. Which is like the hidden person in me always tells me that I would have been a better novelist rather than orthodontist. Jokes apart, what I'm trying to say is how to write. Just write. Take a pen and paper and just put your thoughts on the paper. Keep it as a draft one, because the first paper that I wrote, I almost wrote 11 times, and the 11th time I thought this is the best paper I've ever written. Nobody can ever say no to it. And the reviewers gave the worst review ever possible. My heart broke. I almost cried and then realized that probably it's not that the way how I think about it. Even when I look back to that reviewer's comments, year on year, because I myself review so many papers, they were 100% right about my own. If I look back at that first draft to the 11th draft, they almost look similar. It's just improvement of language and tone, but it just misses the whole point of methodology and all that. So the long and the short of it is just write. There is no recipe, there is no shortcut. You just write. And then after 2 days, when you're writing the second draft, don't miss anything. Keep the first draft and write the second draft. Think about and look back at the first draft. You'll start laughing at yourself. Did I write this first draft? Because you might be, while writing, the conscious bias of your mind says that you're writing something phenomenal, right? So it doesn't allow you to think very properly. When you go to the fifth or sixth or seventh draft, go back to the first and second draft. You'll realize that the first, second, third draft are almost similar, and they can belong to the garbage bin. So what I'm trying to say is read more, trying to get the scientific gist of what the papers are talking about. And then if you want to construct yourself as a researcher and a great writer, it should be like for the lack of better explanation, your writing should be crisp, and it should be like a heist movie, not a Titanic. Titanic is all drawn for 3.5 hours. You wouldn't have patience. Heist movie is something that fast, somebody's chasing someone, and you know that everybody's on their chairs, the audience, and want to see what happens next, and it will be unraveled in 1 minute rather than waiting for 3 hours. Your paper should be like that, like a version of what you wrote in draft one.
All right. That's a beautiful tip. I think as researchers, we have all crossed that point, and we still will be going through that moment that you described. And so what advice would you give to the young graduates for reviews, rejections, and sharp criticism? How should they address it?
Okay, take it easy, because as a first time writer, as a postgrad, probably you might be dejected from the reviewer with their harsh comments and all that. You don't have to take it to your heart. Talk to your supervisor, because remember, there's a supervisor who has much more experience than you. He or she would have told you to lead this path, and they would have anticipated these are the reviewers' questions you might get in terms of what your expectations are. So don't get disheartened. Research is rewarding. At the same time, the rejections, the phenomenal amount of papers that I myself have got rejections. I might have written a bit of papers, but I'll tell you my rejection stories one day. It will take more than one day if I talk about all the papers that have been rejected. So don't get disheartened about it. Rejection is part of this entire research arena. Expectations of what you are, what you want to be in terms of the culminations of your hard work may not be the same in terms of what the reviewer is expecting. So they might be asking you something in terms of minor revisions or entirely rejecting the paper and saying that this is rubbish. So this is all part of the parcel. So don't get dejected so very quickly because you're young. You might want to take it to the heart, but take it easy. Talk to your supervisor, talk to your friends, because you might be a co-author in one of those papers. Talk to your co-authors, spread around the word, and get some opinion about whether this is worthwhile to pursue in terms of revision or you have to pursue something else. Again, the long and the short of it is rejection is part of the research. You cannot remove that. I've never ever heard of any researcher who have not received rejections. So it is part. So you have to accept it and make amends to it and move forward.
Rightly said. So, talking about the guidance, so how important have mentors been in shaping your career? And
Phenomenal.
yeah, and currently the information is abundant, but mentorship is scarce. So, how can young orthodontists bridge the gap? Enlighten us on both.
Right. Mentorship is something that I really vouch on because, like if without great mentors, you will be wingless. If a mentor is there, they are acting as a springboard and they can easily take you under their wings and make your maneuver, make your flight a little bit much more easier when you're trying to kind of get that headwind on you and then trying to get the speed as well at the same time. So your tail might shake a little bit, some turbulence. So that kind of thing, if you have a great pilot or a co-pilot, you might be the co-pilot. You might think that you are in the cockpit and maneuvering everything, but you need a pilot, you need a mentor. So the long and the short of it again is that if you have a great mentor, latch on to them. They have got this great wisdom, great anecdotal experiences, their nuggets of experiences that we'll talk about it. Make note of it. Even if you are not holding with a pen and paper to jot it down, make some mental note. Try not to repeat it. And if you get a great mentor, I'm sure Shri, you yourself are a great mentor. Been seeing your career and your progress over the years. I'm sure if your postgrads are listening to it, probably they'll come back to you with more questions and those kind of things where a mentor is required, where they have got this 10 questions, they are going in all different directions. Probably you as a mentor would take it only two of them and trying to pursue it in the right direction. So mentors play a great role, especially in the era of large amount of knowledge, information is been hovering around you from all sorts, be it social media, be it publications, be it even in the clinics, be it seminars, be it online education, or be it a new textbook that has been released. Well, a mentor is the one who can actually drive you through all that clutter and get you to the finish line without having to worry about much wasting time or wasting your own resourceful knowledge that you want to. So they will declutter everything and they will get you to the point. So mentor is very important, especially in the light of this present knowledge where we live in a social media where 10 seconds knowledge becomes much more important or much more prioritized and gets 10 million views, and you might be running your own TikTok or Instagram, it gets about 10 views. That doesn't mean anything, but it affects you at one point in time. I'm not saying that you can't disagree that, but as a young postgrad, what I would say is follow the mentor. They know it, they have seen it, they have been there, they have done that. Probably they will drive you to a place where it's safe, it's secure, and you wouldn't have seen it from the day one, but they would have seen the end right from the day you entered your post graduation. So mentorship is very important. I have some incredible mentors in my own life. So coming from my own experience, I say mentorship is very important.
All right, I think that was beautifully articulated. And now we have some rapid fire round. So, I'll shoot out the questions. One evidence based protocol you swear by.
Cleft lip and palate. That's something it's universal, and I swear by it by all means because it's so multidisciplinary, and that protocol it's so very well written, and it gets amended year on year. And the protocol that we have is phenomenal in terms of how execution can happen, patient centric. While there are so many specialties are there at one go, but the protocol is the one that drives that whole approach. Yeah, cleft lip and palate management protocol drives me in the right
All right.
direction.
And one evidence-based protocol that you question?
It's not evidence based. Early management of class threes, that's something that I'm really trying to grapple with. Are you really treating a pseudo class three, or is it a class three, or what exactly are you trying to do with your tads and your face masks and your, are you all claiming that? And what's the real evidence in terms of 6, 7 years when the kid becomes like 14, 15, does he gonna relapse? Yeah, early class three management,
Or
skeletal class three management.
yeah. And one research myth you wish would disappear?
That it's very hard, it's a rough terrain, and it's not for me. No, it's definitely not. It does try your patience in the beginning, but you get a grasp of it. It's very rewarding, and it's something that it's very fulfilling. It comes to its own terms. It's like a small kid which shows his tantrums like a 2 year, 3 year old, but the babies are the most lovable as well. If you give in to their tantrums and play them with for a while, you'll understand that the warmth and the affection they give you back is something uncomparable. Research is like that. It's tough love.
All right. So one paper that every orthodontist should read?
There are few. If you ask me one, I would say that Weinstein's, I forget the title of that paper, Equilibrium Theory of Weinstein and colleagues. I think Profit wrote a Equilibrium Theory Revisited, which became more famous than Weinstein's original research. But I'll still go back and say that Weinstein's Equilibrium Theory must and should be read by all of the postgrads and eventually all the orthodontists as well, because that clearly tells you that the malocclusion is not a standalone entity. It's a combination of multiple factors, soft tissues, hard tissues, habits that we have. It's the tongue pressure, it's the lip pressure. So all those people who can compartmentalize and treat them one malocclusion says that mine will be more stable than yours. Go back to Einstein's paper of equilibrium theory. It tells you that it's not a standalone entity, and Profit has elucidated that in Revisited Equilibrium Theory, telling that malocclusion and orthodontics is multifactorial. One needs to take that into account.
Absolutely. The next question, the most common reason why papers get rejected?
I have a feeling that the methodology is the section where, as a reviewer, I can tell you that because I myself consider that I'm who is a little bit harsh on the people who apply for journals for their publication. It's the methodology part that becomes very unconvincing. Probably they have not got their sample size calculated properly, or even preceding to that, their objectives are not fairly well aligned with their methodology. And what bothers me most is over-claiming of things. I mean, your objective was set out, you had very clear objective of doing this, A plus B is C, and then your discussion is D and E, and then your conclusion is F and G, right? But you look at the title, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I'm trying to say is research wise, it's everything is laid out there. Or if you look at research, it's very meticulous, precise. Take it as one thing and observe it very carefully. Don't try to overclaim, don't try to do too many things. Just say, I'm sure, Shri, you know it very well by this time, how research is. You don't have to do too many things at one paper. You just take one simple idea, address the gap in the literature, and ask the question, why are you doing this? If it comes to you that nobody is doing it, then you should question that why nobody is doing it. That means that you are looking in the wrong direction, or you are a genius at a different level altogether that nobody has looked at it, and you are the only one who is looking at it. Most probably that's the wrong one.
All right. So we are not done yet, Dr. Narayan. I know in
Right.
the beginning we were teasing you that you've got a favorite hat, the chef's hat. Yeah, you remember? I know
Right.
your love for seafood is legendary, and we have a picture showing your amazing culinary skills. So I have to ask, do you cook anything vegetarian at all? Should I leave the hope of getting an invitation someday?
No, no, I do cook. I do cook. Yeah, but I'm more inclined towards cooking the seafood and non-vegetarian food. But I do cook vegetarian food, but I leave it to my wife, the vegetarian part of it.
All right. So, has cooking made you a better orthodontist, or has orthodontist made you a better cook?
I think cooking has made me a better orthodontist. I'll tell you why, because I feel cooking is a therapeutic in nature. Every time I get pissed off, sorry, mind my language, I'm very sorry. Every time I get very unhappy, sad at the workplace or something, or paper rejection or my grant. I was so convinced that I'm going to get a grant of $200,000 and I didn't get it. I immediately jump to the kitchen and start cooking because my mind can't think about it. If I sit idle, I'll be most likely I'll be yelling at my kids or my shouting at my wife. So I'll go and look into the fridge, what's there left, and then I start cooking. It just gives you so much of peace. I know my DAs wouldn't agree. They say that cooking is not therapeutic. It's a daily job and nobody likes cooking. But for me, cooking has become phenomenal with if I'm stressed out, I'm cooking. So my wife says that, oh, daddy's cooking, that means he's stressed out. But he'll get something good out of it. Yeah, so it has made me a better human being. I know orthodontist. It just helps me to calm my nerves a little bit and then because it allows me to focus. If I'm cutting something like a tomato, you can't be thinking and cutting a tomato because your fingers are so close to your knife. And why would you want to do that? So I think that's the therapeutic part of it that it allows you to focus there rather than hover around a rejected paper.
All right. I think I will take inspiration from you, and I cannot watch, but I'll just take inspiration right now. So,
Right.
my question is, do you see any parallel between crafting a memorable meal and, creating a memorable smile?
Yes, 100%. I mean, like the amount of work or the care and the love that goes into cooking, you cannot. And the cooking is like the old saying goes that the real test of cooking lies in the person who is sitting in front of you, whether he's liking or not, right? So that means that no matter how good cook you are, you cannot kind of pat your own back and say, I'm a very good cook, right? So it's left for the person who is tasting or savoring it. In the same way, orthodontics is no matter how self-obsessed you are as an orthodontist, it's the patient that the ultimate has to tell you whether they like the treatment that conceived on their teeth and the occlusion. So I think I draw parallels in both the terms because the real taste is in tasting the pudding itself in terms of cooking, and the real value addition that you bring about is how happy or contented the patient that walked into your clinic for the first time and they're walking out. Are they happy about it? So, yes, cooking and orthodontics is very, very similar.
All right. So, moving over to some philosophical advice, we've had many conversations. So, there's one particular concept called the four burner theory, right, where career, family, personal health, and all of it, it's like four burners on a stove. And
Mhm.
it is always said that you cannot have all the four running all the time, one has to dim. But as an
Mhm.
orthodontist, I've seen you as a clinician, academician, researcher, a good family, good personal life. So, how do you manage to balance everything and without burning the kitchen down?
Right, I know it's a very hard question, but I've been reminiscing on it, contemplating on it for several years now. I think one thing that has boiled down, at least in my own personal perspective, is you need to have a very good health, both mental and physical health. And mental is the one that I'm underlying here. Nobody talks about it. Even if you have some sort of a mental stress, you think that I'm going to take a Panadol or I'm going to sleep it off. No, it doesn't work that way. You need to really take care of your health. You need to take, as the body requires some amount of care in order for you to pursue other things. I mean, my old man, my father used to say only one thing: before you help somebody else, follow the airline's instructions. Before you put the mask on somebody else, you need to put the mask on yourself first. That's my father's advice forever. He says that, did you put the mask on yourself first or not? So that means what he meant was, if you need to take care of others, as a father, as an orthodontist, or as a husband, or even a community person, where you want to give back to the community, you need to kind of respect yourself first. You need to take care of your health. Physical health is very, very important. As we go on, there comorbidities come into existence, and the moment we know about that, I'm doing well in my life as an orthodontist, and suddenly you'll realize your cortisol level is high and your blood pressure is high. You went to a GP and says that, okay, we need to put you on all sorts of concoction of drugs, right? So what I mean to say is stay healthy and do everything that is possible in terms of taking care of your physical stature. That's one important thing. And the other less talked about is the mental health. You need to de-stress yourself. If you require help, talk to somebody and then get that thing sorted out. That's one thing I advise everybody. Everything else will be taken care of in the meantime. If you're not healthy, if you're irritated, I'll tell you, you're high on blood pressure, you're hypertensive. Hypertension leads to a lot of stress, right? Even small little sound or small little irritation around you, just amplify it in such a way that people around you also just kind of run away or drive away from you. So that means that you internally, your physical health is trying to tell you something. You just disrespected it for so long. Healthy life is the most important aspect of leading all these four burners or five burners without having to get into each other's territory or terrain.
Rightly said. They say, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So fill yourself first before pouring. And yeah, Dr. Narayan, we've spent the last hour and a half, talking about the clinician, the academician, the researcher, mentor, chef, and all of that. So I'd like to end with a slightly different note. So I'm going to show you a picture. All right. So if you could travel back in time and meet the young Narayan Gandedkar, here sitting on your lap before beginning of this fabulous journey that you've had before the accolades, the publications, I know before SFOA became synonymous with your name. So what advice would you give the young Narayan Gandedkar? And more importantly, what would he give to you as well?
Right. I mean, the younger self, I don't come from a very privileged background. I grew up in India in a modest, middle class family. So that means growing up, healthy background, parents were always there, always available. So I'm the last child. So that means my older brother and sister were always with me. But having said that, the young self, I had my own doubts up until high school. The point that whether I'll be able to make anything out of my life was the question that grappled me very early on, maybe in year 9 or year 10 or around high school. And then eventually I would say that I wanted to work on it, and then probably I've succeeded in some sort of it. If I were to tell as an older myself to my younger self, take it easy a little bit. You don't have to worry about so many things. If you have a great family, if you're fortunate enough, if you put your head down and get your things sorted out and lead a little bit of disciplined life, you don't have to be intelligent. I don't call myself as a very intelligent or a high IQ person, but having said that, disciplined life and having to, if your mentor says, if your professor says, if your teacher says that this needs to be done, they are telling you from a deep conscious mind, which is good for you. So I used to revolt a lot as a high school student. Probably it's the nerves and the teenage life and all that. Having set that apart, what I would say that take it easy a little bit. Don't think that the world is against you, or don't think that you have to teach the world a lesson, or you have to take the whole world as against me and I'm the only one who is trying to tread this terrain and things like that. Yeah, take it easy. Things will work out. Put your head down, lead a disciplined life, and do your hard work and do your dues. The success will come to you anyway. Have a resolute life. That's one thing. If the youngest, if what was the other question?
It's vice versa. What would the younger one look up to you now, like, and say, oh, how it
So
went?
the young, all right. So that's it's the other way around. So the younger one, if I'm looking up and saying what I have to say, look, I made it, and the younger one is looking like not too bad. You had your days of sad moments, your days of skepticalness, your days of being not too optimistic, and despite of all those things, you're treading on. You are on your path, and try not to be too superfluous with this idea that I'm going to stay here forever and make the world a better place. It's not going to happen that way. We are all limited. We are all mortal people. My younger one would say that, look at you now. You're 4 decades older than me. That means that half of your life is over now. So try to be more meaningful. try to give younger people the more confidence they require and have a mentorship, whatever way that is possible, to tell them that, it's not too bad. Take a break, relax a little bit. It'll all figure out by itself.
All right, that was lovely. I think, the entire conversation, it's just not knowledge or addressing the questions. It has been more heartfelt. That was what I thought about. You've been very open, you've been very honest, you've shared all your journeys. That's so wonderful of you. And I'd like to thank you very much for taking your time and sharing your knowledge, your experience, and everything with us.
Right. Thank you so much. Once again, I would like to thank the Madras Orthodontic Study Group and the convener, Dr. Rekha Bharadwaj, for having me. And great meeting you, Shri, and your postgrads as well. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.